Welcome to another conversation of women investing in women. Why do women need to invest in women? You may wonder. Women have traditionally grown up and come of age in a masculine society that has created a sense of scarcity for roles of women in the professional world. How are we each navigating that? How are we each busting through those stereotypes to truly go from a sense of scarcity to build a sense of abundance? And how can you become a part of this journey of abundance is going to be the thrust of our conversation. Take it away, Robin.
All right. I am absolutely thrilled to have Phaedra Rogers with us. And I got acquainted with her actually just almost by accident. I got some emails about this new app called UpLevel, by women and for women, technology to help women. And so I signed up for it. It sounded interesting, just got these emails. And then it dawned on me, oh my gosh, we need to have someone from UpLevel on our podcast, because obviously this is women investing in women. So I looked through, the various people connected with UpLevel, and there's something that just drew me to Phaedra. So I called her up and said, hey, we want to have you on our show. So I'm thrilled to have her. If you want to tell us a little bit about what UpLevel does, and then more importantly, what are you doing to help women? What motivates you and drives you in that arena?
Thank you. Thank you both so much for having me and giving me a space to tell a little bit about my story. I'm usually the one that shares other people's stories, which is what I love to do. And a little bit about my background is I am a writer. I'm a content marketing writer and a copywriter, but I also write for digital and print publications. And I tend to focus on women's stories, whether they are women who are championing social causes, working for nonprofits, domestic violence, trafficking, things like that, some of these heavier topics, to women who have a great idea and they're starting a business and, telling those stories. So I've been doing that for a really long time. And then in, I think it was the summer of 2020, a colleague of mine introduced me to now the founder of UpLevel. At the time, it was, in its very, very infant stages. And I just knew that it was going to be something very powerful. I felt in the bottom of my soul, I knew it was going to be very impactful for professional women. So I live in Austin, and the founder of UpLevel lives in Austin. So I was one of the early investors in this business and in the platform. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made, because they're doing an amazing job. So that's kind of the general idea of what I do. I don't work specifically for UpLevel as much, but I still love telling women's stories and working for women's platforms and doing anything where women can actually step into what it is they love to do, what it is they're called to do, and share those stories.
That is so encouraging to hear, especially in a society at a time where women are losing their ability to even take for granted what has been traditionally available in the last 15, 20 years. Mm. So as I'm listening to you speak, Phaedra, what comes to my mind is that you mentioned you invested in this business. One of the single most challenging, daunting tasks for women entrepreneurs is to get investment.
Yes.
Women investors are looked upon as hobbyists, while men are looked upon as entrepreneurs. I work with women from a financial perspective to help build that credibility and street credit. So I want, from your perspective, what moved you to invest And at the same time, what triggered you to tell the stories of women when that was not what we saw around us all the time?
So to answer what inspired me to invest in Uplevel, there are plenty of platforms out there supporting women, but they're sort of compartmentalized. You know, there are platforms to help women financially, platforms to help women professionally. There are lifestyle platforms. There really isn't a platform where that combines all three under one holistic roof. And the thing that's amazing about about Uplevel is it has professional women experts to connect with members, the people who are on the platform. So, for example, you could be a 24-year-old recent college graduate, and you just don't even, you're frustrated with the job hunting process. Where do you do? Uplevel has resources, it has experts, it has content, it has everything you need. You could also be a single mom and you're struggling to try to figure out how to invest your time or invest your money. Uplevel has experts on the platform that can assist you with that. So it takes away the hassle and the hardship of having to search all these things out all over Google, which I'm sure, or whatever search platform you use. And a lesser known fact is that, obviously AI drives platforms, drives search engines. Those AI tools are very, very gender biased, whether knowingly or unknowingly. And I didn't even realize it until I got involved in Uplevel. And now on Uplevel, the AI that they have created is woman centric. It is female centric. It is written for women, by women. And so it keeps the unique needs of professional women in mind, whatever path they're on. We go through a series of milestones over the course of our life. So it keeps all of those things in mind. And I believe you asked, what is it that drives me to amplify women's stories? I don't know what it is. I have always been drawn to do that. My mom was a social worker, and I grew up in Houston, Texas, and I will never forget, I was a volunteer one summer. She was like, you are not going to sit at home all summer. You're coming to the hospital with me, and you're going to spend time there. So I did. And I saw firsthand at a young age the hardship that women face, the women that were coming in with, young children and things like that. And the things that my mother had to do to kind of help these women through the healthcare system. And this was many, many years ago. So I don't know. I think from that moment on, I kind of resolved myself to use my talents, my gifts and talents to amplify women's stories and voices, and contribute to, their businesses in whatever capacity I can.
This is really a very, very fascinating journey. And I'm wondering, especially as you shared this last little part, is there something common to the women in terms of challenges or perspectives common to the women that you highlight, or that women you would like to highlight in terms of their experience in the technology world? Or like you say, here is this AI that is biased towards males. I don't think any of us would have. Well, I've heard of that recently, but who would have thought? So, is there some commonality with women that you're seeing, and what you could do to help improve whatever is going on there?
Well, okay, there's a micro and a macro answer to that. The macro answer to that is that if we're going to talk specifically about AI, and in this case, because it's had such an explosion, while that doesn't necessarily affect the daily life of a woman, it kind of does, actually. And I think that one of the common themes that I have found is just the uphill battle that most women go through, either through running their nonprofits or running their businesses, trying to get money for their businesses, trying to navigate all of the things. So I would say that the biggest challenge is they have just bigger hurdles to jump over, and finding, there's no just one solution to that. There's an assortment of many solutions. The micro answer to that is getting back to the AI. Typically, AI is written through engineers. If you look at the majority of people in STEM, it's predominantly a male-dominated field. Now, that is changing slowly but surely across the world. But until you get more women into STEM, into engineering, all of those things to kind of flip the script a little bit or add their 2 cents to the whole process, it's going to be male dominated. It's going to be gender centric towards male. And again, I'm not saying that they are looking to do that. I'm saying it's just a natural thing. You think the way you think, and if you don't have enough diversity in the room, it's just going to go towards this lane versus, well, like, let's widen the lane.
That makes total sense, Phaedra, as I'm listening to you. One of the things I always notice when I am with a client walking through their office is just how the office is set up. If the desks don't have a modesty panel, there was no woman's input in that. I have shown up for conferences, for panel discussions, and they have these high chairs. And it's fine for a man in pants to sit.
Right.
I always jokingly say, I can see that there was no woman involved in this setup. I am going to respectfully stand behind my chair because I'm wearing a dress and I need to remain modest, right? So all these little things, the office temperature is set up for a man's body, not for a woman's body. Every woman has an air conditioner, a fan and a heater under her desk, right? It's not that they intentionally do it, but they only know what they know.
Right. Exactly. That's the way mine works. A funny anecdote that really has not that much to do with the conversation, but when we were renovating our home, our designer was helping us do, the bathroom, and the way that the contractor had designed it didn't even have like a shelf or anything for shampoos or anything, and then she stepped in and said, well, you need to have a shelf. You need to have almost like a bench, so if somebody's going to, shaving their legs, whatever. And he was like, oh yeah, I never really thought about that. And she's like, well, of course you don't, because why would you? I mean, why would you think? So we got the bench in the bathroom. So
that makes sense, right? But people don't realize when we get older, we need the bench to sit down and have a shower. So while it serves a different purpose when we are younger, as we get older, otherwise you'll have to get those portable shower benches that you buy from a handicap store, right? So as we are thinking about these things, and men and women are wired different. I was just doing some research that talks about how women have more gray matter and women are able to make more neural connections. Men can't. Men are serial thinkers. Women are parallel thinkers. We're intentionally designed to be different. How can women rise up and embrace and gently guide men to see a different perspective without making it confrontational? Because the minute we accuse them of being blind or not caring, those are fighting words. But you don't know what you don't know until somebody points it out to you.
Exactly. And I take it back to that. I'm referring to the bench where you can easily put your shampoo and your soap and all of that, a ledge. I guess a ledge is probably the word I'm looking for. But anyway, you don't know what you don't know. How can women gently shift the focus from their mindset to a woman's mindset? I think it is, it's going to be carefully, I guess, to answer your question carefully, because like you said, if you take the stance of, you are wrong because you just, in my opinion, you are, because, the way your mind thinks is different than the way my mind thinks, then you're looking for a fight. If you present yourself in a way that is confident and reasonable and backed with data, okay, you got to have the numbers, you got to have the data, or in a way that disarms, and it's going to be a slow process. It's definitely not like I don't think we're going to have this tidal wave of enlightenment where people around the world are going to finally get it. I mean, they're slowly getting it, but if you step back and you look at the power of a grassroots effort, some of the most profound grassroots efforts have come, have changed the world. And I think it's day by day, woman by woman, conversation by conversation, little bit by little bit, I mean, you can't have a blizzard with one snowflake. So therefore it takes many to lock you in. And so it's the same thing. If women can just share their truth and share what they know in a confident way with less opinion and more information, then that's going to move the needle slowly but surely.
Yeah. I love that, a notion that from the grassroots, so many powerful things have totally changed the world. I mean, there's many, many, many examples of that happening. Mm-hmm. In terms of that, both in specific to Up Level, but also in general to you, what have been some of the challenges, for example, Up Level getting up and going and becoming even into existence, and then the challenges that you have faced individually in bringing women's stories to the world? And I say challenges. I like to look at challenges from two angles: one, internal challenges, and then also external challenges.
So the challenges, and I can't speak completely of understanding all of the challenges, that Up Level has faced getting out into the world, but it's just one of those things where persistence pays off. And so I think just learning how to start, like everything, humble beginnings, and just keep charging forward one day at a time. Me personally, the challenges I've faced sharing women's stories is sometimes, not as many platforms are as interested in sharing their stories and their different endeavors. So I have to pitch a story a different way to a publication that's probably, more focused on certain things. But to be honest with you, when I do share them, or when they, not just me, but I feel like when women's stories are shared, you won't find a more devout group of people than you will women who want to hear about women's success. If we can amplify their success, and I'm not talking, wow, we got to have, somebody who's the CEO and, that. I'm talking about a success might be somebody who was told they would never graduate high school, and here they are running an entire business, or there are lots of ways. So those stories I like to amplify if I can. Sometimes my challenge is finding the platforms who want to share those stories. But I think that it serves all of us, because women do rally around women. When we're not competing with each other, we rally around each other.
And that is so true, Phaedra. We are so good at nurturing and supporting, but we also don't ask for help.
No.
Because it's been ingrained in us that you have to be a superwoman, you have to do it all, and you have to do it all on your own to be considered successful.
Exactly.
What advice do you have for women so that they can look at their success as part of a sisterhood? Because it's that collective journey that makes it possible.
Yeah. I think if we can, again, like I said, one snowflake doesn't make a blizzard. It's just part of the collective. If we can take one story at a time, one voice at a time, and really show as examples, lead by examples, that, you know what, this woman's success is not taking my success away. So if we can just get out of that scarcity mindset of, well, if she succeeded, then that means I'm not going to succeed because now she's doing something that I want to do. I want to have this position. I want to do this. I want to live there. I want to whatever. I think it takes a little bit of our own self-reflection and coming to peace, making peace with what success looks like to us individually, so that way we can champion other women. Because why wouldn't we? What do we have to gain? I ask the question, what do we have to gain if we squash each other? It's only going to make the problem worse. We're not going to be able to amplify our voices. There's nothing to gain, in my opinion.
I'm loving that abundance mindset, and especially your rhetorical question at the end. What do we have to gain? We have nothing to gain. We have everything to gain by rallying and supporting and encouraging each other. There's definitely a little anecdote from myself. I was doing a certification in creating well-being a few summers ago, and there's we call them the perma pillars, the different elements of well-being according to the theories by Martin Seligman in positive psychology. And the class had to choose one of these principles and then tell about it. So on my day, I chose the principle of meaning, having meaning and purpose in life. And there were 5 other people. So all 6 of us, one right after another, gave our presentation about meaning. And every single one of them was great. And every one of them was completely different, even though we had the exact same topic. And
exactly.
That moment just, it just like pulled it just like opened this massive curtain that it doesn't matter if there's someone doing the exact same thing as you. You are you. You're going to bring something different and powerful to the table. So I love that notion. And every single conversation we have, the time just flies right by. But I would say, as we kind of are coming to a close, what are one or two, a couple of what we call golden nuggets that you could share with the women who will be listening to this when we release it?
Okay. Well, I want to revisit the concept of competition real quick on that note, because if you think about it, I have 3 daughters. And so I tell them, if you are going to get intimidated by competition, everything is competition. So you have to make peace with the fact that there are going to be other people doing the exact same thing that you're doing it, but they're going to have their own spin on it. So I don't care what you want to do. If you want to be a dentist, there's competition. If you want to be, a teacher, there's competition. There's a lot of people who want to do the same thing. And that is okay, because they're not going to do it the same way as you. There are a million writers out there, but they don't tell the stories through the lens of my experience, my life. So I don't care what sector you work in, what you do, you're going to approach things through your own special, very personalized life plan. And you're going to bring something to the table that somebody else isn't, whether or not you're covering the same topic or so on and so forth. The other thing I want to share is, a lot of times I have found some of my greatest successes just by following my intuition, by really, really listening inside my body and, really understanding, if I don't feel peace about something, I will not do it. Even if it's maybe a popular thing to do, I will not do it. And I think that women tend to squash their own internal voice a lot. And it's there for a reason. So to really trust themselves and to really trust their own wisdom and to to really trust the wisdom and the guidance that they have, because it's there for a reason. And it could lead them to an amazing opportunity, you know? It could be just as practical as, I have a hunch to go to this coffee shop today. Well, you know what? Maybe you're going to meet somebody there that's going to be integral to your next step in life, whatever that might look like, you know, a friendship, a work partnership, or whatever. So follow your gut. It's there for a reason. I know it's cliche, but I believe wholeheartedly that it's true, which is why part of the reason why I invested in UpLevel, because I followed my gut. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but anyway.
And that is such an insightful note to bring this to a close, because women do have wisdom. They do have intuition. That's what makes us women, right? So as we bring this to a close, I want to give you a quick minute to share with our audience how they can get in touch with you, because we don't want this to be a conversation and it ends. We want this to be a start of something more beautiful that is going to continue to blossom.
Yes, yes, definitely. And I look forward to hearing from anybody who has questions about, you know, my journey or UpLevel, or, you know, anything just in general. Maybe there are aspiring, you know, marketing writers watching this. The best way to reach me is through my LinkedIn URL, which I believe it's just my name, Phaedra Rogers. You know, you can find me on LinkedIn. I do have a website, but I do have to forewarn you that it's under construction. PhaedraRogers.com. And then if you want to know more about UpLevel, you can search uplevel.com and understand more about that platform. See if it's something that makes sense, you know, for you. But I think it's an outstanding resource. I think it's a real gift.
Thank you so much for sharing this time with us to get your voice, your message, and your impact and input into the world of women. Robin and I are so grateful that you invested in this conversation of women investing in women. And for the women out there, remember, we're all a flower in a massive garden. No flower stops blooming because another flower isn't bloom. We all have our seasons. We all have our beauty. We all have our fragrance. It's only together a garden comes about. Individually, we're just a flower. So go out there and be a part of an enchanted garden. And in the process, lift each other up so that we can all thrive.